The rise of Chris Hani, a story of resilience. Chris Hani, a name that strikes a chord in South African history. He was a man of incredible charisma, a brilliant military strategist, and a gifted academic. He had everything a political leader could ever dream of, but his life was cut tragically short. Today, we're exploring the remarkable story of Chris Hani, a true revolutionary and one of the greatest freedom fighters Africa has ever produced. Stay with us to uncover the journey of a man who fought against all odds for the freedom of his people. Welcome to Peak World. If you're new, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Among the many freedom fighters in Africa, few have had credentials like Chris Hani. This man was full of charisma, military prowess, and academic qualifications. He had everything a political leader could dream of. Chris Hani was a revolutionary of note, one of the greatest revolutionaries born in South Africa. Martin Tembisile Hani was born on June 28, 1942, in the South African village of Kofimvaba, Transkei. He was the youngest of the three prominent leaders born in 1942, along with Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki. His father, Gilbert Hani, was a mine union worker and political activist, and his mother, Mary, took care of the family and household. Young Martin Hani attended a Roman Catholic primary school and was devout in his beliefs. He admired the social justice aspect of his religion and was enthralled with the Latin language used in the Mass. He became an altar server as a young boy and later wanted to become a priest, but his father discouraged that path. He was reminded that being a priest meant dedicating yourself completely. You couldn't marry or have children, and priests back then were not rich like they are today. He attended Lovedale School, the same school where Thabo Mbeki and Steve Biko also attended, but Hani was one grade ahead of Mbeki. Although they were born in the same year and month, Hani was promoted twice in 1 year, which is why he was ahead of his peers. This man was a serious genius. While in high school, Hani joined the ANC Youth League in 1957 at the age of 15. He influenced other students to join the ANC. He was influenced to align with the ANC due to the party's activism concerning mass struggles. He mentioned writers such as Govan Mbeki, who played a critical role in his political conversion. He passed his Standard 10, now grade 12, at the age of 16. He went on to study Latin and Classics at the University of Fort Hare from 1959 to 1961 and at Rhodes University, from which he earned a bachelor's degree in 1962. This is the same institution that produced many great African leaders like Nelson Mandela, Robert Mugabe, and O.R. Tambo, just to name a few. After graduating, he briefly prepared for a legal career, but he didn't finish his articles because of his political involvement. The apartheid regime kept on arresting him until he was advised by the ANC to go into exile, as his life was in danger. His political involvement led him to join the underground South African Communist Party, SACP, in 1961, and Umkhonto we Sizwe, MK, the military wing of the ANC, in 1962. Hani went on to become a member of the MK's Western Cape leadership, dubbed the Committee of Seven. His encounters with the law began with his arrest at a police roadblock in 1962. He was found to be in possession of pamphlets containing objections to the government's notorious policy of detention without trial. He was subsequently charged under the Suppression of Communism Act and held in jail. He was granted bail of 500 rand, and during this period he entered Botswana to attend the 1962 ANC conference in Lobatse. On his return to South Africa, he was arrested at the border. He was tried and given an 18-month jail sentence. In 1963, while out on bail pending an appeal, Hani went underground on the advice of the ANC leadership. He remained underground in Cape Town for about 4 months, and in May proceeded to Johannesburg, where he was instructed to leave South Africa to undergo military training. Martin changed his name to Chris for security reasons because exiles who joined MK adopted guerrilla names. Hani chose Chris, which was his brother's name. This man was a soldier of soldiers and a commander of commanders. There are many so-called freedom fighters who claim to be MK veterans without a record of fighting in their lifetime. Chris fought in several wars, including the Wankie Campaign and other border wars. Hani left the continent and went to the Soviet Union for military and political training. It was there that he started to develop a love for Russian music, and his passion for socialism grew. After his return to the continent, he set up more military bases in Tanzania and Zambia. He wanted to face the enemy directly and convinced political leaders to form a joint military group with ZIPRA, the army wing of ZAPU, to enter South Africa and Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. It was easy to form this army wing alliance because the African National Congress and the Zimbabwe African People's Union were already in an alliance. In fact, these two movements were once one, as ZAPU was once part of the ANC before the Rhodesian government banned it, at which point they came up with a new name. The president of ZAPU, Joshua Nkomo, was a member of the ANC and military leader Dumiso Dabengwa. Many MK soldiers thought he was also South African because the Ndebele language is very similar to the Zulu language. I will do an episode focusing on Joshua and the alliance with the ANC, though during the Wankie Campaign he was arrested. So an agreement was reached that ZIPRA and Umkhonto Sizwe would train together day and night for this mission. The ZIPRA comrades were relevant since they knew the Rhodesian terrain, which would make it a successful mission. Chris was very happy for this mission to go and face the enemy directly, tired of shooting at boards. They took an impossible route that the enemy would never have thought people in their right mind would use, but Chris Hani and his comrades used it. They were accompanied by O.R. Tambo to Zambezi, and they were called the Luthuli Detachment in honor of the ANC President General, Albert Luthuli, who had just died around 1967. Chris Hani was the first to cross as a sign of bravery, and other comrades joined him on the other side. Each guerrilla was given a submachine gun with 300 rounds and a semi-automatic rifle with 300 rounds and very little food. The comrades ran out of food, and 3 guerrillas were lost on the way, alerting the Rhodesian army about the presence of MK and Z IPRA. Hani commanded his group not to waste bullets by shooting without being sure of the target. In the first encounter with the enemy, they killed 2 soldiers. Among the dead soldiers was Commander Nicholas Smith, whose men ran away, leaving behind guns, ammunition, and food. It was a great feast for Hani and his comrades because they had not eaten for a few days. The battle continued, and in the second one, the Rhodesians retreated and were reinforced by the South African Defense Force. They came with fighter jets and bombed the area. Chris Hani devised a strategy of retreating into Botswana, knowing it was an independent state where they would be safe. But Botswana was bullied by South Africa into arresting Chris Hani. This battle is what is known today as the Wankie Campaign, or Operation Nickel. Chris Hani was arrested and spent 2 years in prison. When he was released, he was very angry, feeling the ANC leadership had sold them out to the enemy. When he came back to Zambia, the reception he received was not what he expected. He thought he would receive a hero's welcome from the movement and that leaders would ask questions about the mission. However, no one was interested, and that hurt Hani a great deal because he realized the leadership was enjoying their stay in exile. He realized the military leadership was just doing business and driving nice cars. He and his comrades authored what is today known as the Hani Memorandum, with 16 points, which was signed by 6 other comrades. In it, they criticized the ANC leadership, saying they were enjoying being in exile instead of going to the country. They also criticized MK leader Joe Modise, blaming him for failing the soldiers and stating that he should no longer receive a salary because he was meant to be planning, directing, and leading the struggle in South Africa. He mentioned a lot of things in this memorandum, including that Thabo Mbeki was getting special preference to represent the ANC Youth League in international events. He also hit hard on the ANC Secretary General and Chief of Security of the ANC, Duma Nokwe, and his wife, claiming she was collaborating with an Israeli agent. He also questioned how people were selected for the National Executive Committee since there were no election conferences. He also questioned the secret killing of comrades who were suspected of being traitors. Hani and his comrades hit hard on the leadership. This was a very dangerous move because it could have resulted in their execution. Rumors say a dungeon was dug for their execution, but Tambo saved them, allowing them only to be suspended. Although Hani was suspended from the ANC, he forced the ANC to have a conference in Tanzania, the Morogoro Conference, where the ANC started to self-criticize in 1969 and revolutionize the movement. The decision was made to allow white and other non-Africans to become members of the ANC and to ensure that political policy should guide military action and not vice versa. As a result, the Revolutionary Council, which included whites and coloreds, was set up. Hani was a disciplined member of the ANC. He didn't leave the ANC. Instead, he went and stayed in the Copperbelt region in Zambia, as some comrades advised him to hold on. He was educated, and others would have left to focus on their careers in exile, but Hani stayed. In 1970, he was elected to the Central Committee of the South African Communist Party. In 1974, he re-entered South Africa to establish an underground infrastructure for the ANC in the Western Cape. He entered the country from Botswana on foot and spent 4 months in the country, based in Johannesburg. He helped set up underground units and a communication system. In addition, various routes through the country were established. In 1974, Hani married Limfo Sekamane. They would go on to have 3 daughters. Hani then moved to Lesotho, where he remained for about 7 years. It was a strategic location since Lesotho is inside South Africa, and he would enter South Africa for political and military missions. Here, he organized units of the MK for guerrilla operations in South Africa. By 1982, Hani had become prominent enough in the ANC to be the focus of several assassination attempts, including at least 1 car bomb. He was transferred from the Lesotho capital, Maseru, to the center of the ANC political leadership in Lusaka, Zambia. That year, he was elected to the membership of the ANC National Executive Committee, and by 1983, he had been promoted to political commissar of the MK, working with student recruits who joined the ANC in exile after the 1976 Soweto uprising. Also that year, Hani was elected to the ANC Executive Council. He was named Deputy Commander of Umkhonto in 1982 and Chief of Staff 5 years later. At the same time, he rose through the leadership ranks of the SACP, but it took him a while to join the ANC-NEC compared to his peers. Mbeki joined the NEC in 1975 and Zuma in 1977. But still, Hani was a disciplined member, working hard for the movement. When dissident ANC members, who were being held in detention camps in Angola, mutinied against their harsh treatment in 1983–84, Hani played a key role in the suppression of the uprisings. He denied any involvement in the subsequent torture and murders. Hani continued his rise through the ANC ranks, and in 1987, he became the Chief of Staff of the MK. During the same period, he rose to senior membership of the SACP. After the unbanning of the ANC and SACP on February 2, 1990, Hani returned to South Africa and became a charismatic and popular speaker in townships. By 1990, he was known to be a close associate of Joe Slovo, the General Secretary of the SACP. Both Slovo and Hani were considered fearful figures in the eyes of South Africa's extreme right. The Afrikaner Weerstandsbeweging, AWB, Afrikaner Resistance Movement, and the Conservative Party, CP. When Slovo announced that he had cancer in 1991, Hani took over as General Secretary. In 1992, Hani stepped down as Chief of Staff of Umkhonto we Sizwe to devote more time to the organization of the SACP. The communists were feared by white South Africans, who even framed them as the Rooi Gevaar, meaning red danger or communist danger. Many ANC leaders left the South African Communist Party, SACP, because all communists were perceived as dangerous. Jacob Zuma left the SACP in 1990, but Chris Hani was a communist to the core. Hani was a charismatic leader with significant support among the radical anti-apartheid youth. At the time of his death, he was the most popular ANC leader after his senior, Nelson Mandela. Following the legalization of the ANC, his support for the negotiation process with the apartheid government was critical in keeping the militants in line. Despite starting off as an advocate for armed resistance, he was able to adapt to the needs of the people and move towards peaceful political negotiations. Hani also played a critical role in deepening the alliance between the SACP, ANC, and the Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU. These relationships played a big role in the success of the anti-apartheid resistance movement. Chris Hani became a global figure for anti-apartheid and resistance movements around the world. Chris was a unique soldier who could relate to people and attend community meetings to listen to and address their concerns. On April 10, 1993, as he returned home to the racially mixed suburb of Don Park, Boksburg, Johannesburg, Hani was assassinated by Janusz Walus, an anti-communist Polish refugee who had close links to the white nationalist AWB. With him was his daughter, Nomakwezi, then 15 years old, his wife Limfo, and two other daughters, Neo, then 20 years old, and Lindiwe, then 12 years old, were away at the time. Also implicated in the assassination was Conservative Party Member of Parliament Clive Derby-Lewis. The weapon used to kill him was organized by Clive Derby-Lewis from the South African Defence Force. There are many conspiracies concerning his death, suspecting the involvement of the apartheid government or ANC leaders who hated him. But all these theories don't add up because the killer, Janusz Walus, after being released, made a video speaking his truth without shame, stating that he doesn't regret his deeds and would do it again if the opportunity arose because of his hate for communists and black people. Clive Derby-Lewis also gave an interview before he died, explaining that Chris Hani was a hardline communist who was uncontrollable by the ANC. If any other leader of the ANC was involved, they would have mentioned his name easily, plus it would have helped to divide the ANC. The death of Chris Hani was a game-changer in South African politics, and even his funeral was very memorable, even though there was a threat of civil war. WB members were around Ekurhuleni, claiming they were protecting the families of white people. Chris Hani's story is a powerful reminder that the fight for freedom often comes at a great cost. His life was a testament to courage, his death a turning point for a nation on the brink of civil war. While his assassination was meant to silence him, it only cemented his legacy as a revolutionary and a hero. His vision of a free and just South Africa continues to inspire us today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more stories of African leaders. Let us know in the comments which other leaders you would like us to cover next.